Welcome to Spit Take Podcast. My name is Sam, and joining me as always are Adam.
Hey.
And Rick.
You know, some of us got PTSD. Jesus.
Yeah. Today we'll be talking about the latest in entertainment news as well as our favorite black-led movies.
Yeah, we are excited. It is Black History Month. We're going to talk about some of our favorite black-led movies. We are three middle-aged white guys talking about this, but these are movies that in some way impacted us, and we appreciate the work that goes into it, like we do with any movies, but these ones deserve a specific call-out in our minds as just being, you know, impactful in cinema, and I don't think we have much else to say about that until we get to the topic. Sam, why don't you start us off?
It is actually very sad news. This week, the man who brought the country together after 9/11 has passed away. So, in honor of him, I'm drinking out of my red Solo cup. Here's to you, Toby Keith. Justice will be served and the battle will rage.
Hell yeah. That was sad news. You know, I don't think when he came out with those 9/11 songs, I was that into country music or anything at the time. I picked it up a little bit when I joined the military. A lot of the people I was with were all kind of rednecks, but you know, I kind of got into it and I did like some of his songs. I do like some of the South Park episodes that were kind of making fun of that. I think it was the one where they're building the ladder to heaven.
That's Alan Jackson.
Was it Alan Jackson?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I thought it was Toby Keith for some reason.
So, before you guys probably even knew who Toby Keith was, back when he should have been a cowboy, Toby Keith, I was just a youngin', and up in Chicago we had Q101, today's country hits, and anyways, I was obsessed with Should Have Been a Cowboy, and I know all the words front to back. I could sit here and sing it for you, no problem. And I'm on the radio at my grandparents' house requesting that song all the time, and they had me on the radio. It was awesome.
Well, Should Have Been a Cowboy was the number one most played country song of the 90s. Which for a song that was basically birthed out of Toby Keith going to a bar after a hunting trip, and he and his buddies are still in their camouflage clothes, and they go to a bar, and there's all these guys line dancing with these girls, and one of his buddies asks a girl to dance, and she kind of blew him off, and his other buddy was like, I guess you should have been a cowboy. And Toby Keith sat down and wrote that song in 20 minutes, and like I said, number one most played song on the radio in the 90s for country music.
He was in a movie with Rodney Carrington called Beer for My Horses. Yep. And I remember watching that movie on a bus on a way to go do like a qualifying or something. Again, lots of rednecks in my unit, but I do remember watching that movie. It was pretty funny. It was interesting. Yeah. It wasn't, you know, it was never going to win an Oscar, but you know, it was a halfway decent movie.
Yeah. And
I'd watch it again.
Yeah. And Rodney Carrington is another guy that I've really enjoyed. I've met him twice. Funny guy. He's another one of those people that you don't realize is as short as they are, because the picture I have with him, I think he comes up to like mid upper arm on me.
Yeah. He looks like he's short, but I love all of his songs too.
Yes.
Titties and Beer. That's a great one.
Show Them to Me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He's a funny guy.
Every time I've seen him perform, Show Them to Me is the song that is all you can guarantee is going to be played, and you're going to see some tits, and they're going to be men, women, old, young, biker, fit. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was sad news to hear about Toby Keith, and you know, sad that we're not going to get any of the legendary songs that he's made in the past anymore. But you know, it's unfortunate, but you know, we wish his family the best, and Yeah, that's all I think we really have to say about that.
Unless
so
Rick,
raise your glasses.
More?
No.
Cheers to Toby. We'll miss you.
Cheers to Toby. Awesome. Rick, tell us how Suicide Squad is.
Well, we kind of talked about it last week. The video game Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, and there's been a lot of complaints about it. A lot of complaints about the gameplay, a lot of complaints about the wokeness and the execution of how it's treated Batman and the Flash. So I played 2 hours of it, and so far, Captain Boomerang does treat the Flash like dirt. He very much does loathe the Flash. I haven't gotten to the part where he's urinated on him yet, but he has done some raunchy things to him. The gameplay is a little weird because it's definitely nothing like Arkham. Mm-hmm. It's more of a third-person shooter, but it's like it wants to be this weird platformer where it wants you to at times be off the ground in an extended period of time. So you have to get used to a weird button formation with the right trigger. And it's just odd how that works. And it works differently for each character. So I can see where the complaints with some of the gameplay come into play, but I don't think it's a end all be all for me. Excuse me. Some of the so far the bad guys that you have to fight over and over again, it is a bit monotonous. You're just fighting the same purple aliens over and over and over again. I haven't even really fought like a true boss battle. It's just the same aliens over and over and over and over again. So that's kind of bad, and that gets kind of boring. I'm not going to say I haven't had fun with the game. And the actual kind of cut scenes where you see them kind of have that closeness and everything, and how they build a relationship is kind of fun at times, but the gameplay can use a little work. The actual I can see where some of the complaints are so far with the game. But I'm still willing to keep playing and see where it goes, see where the story goes, see more boss battles and stuff. Because, like I said, I haven't really ran into any, which is surprising.
Yeah, well, and with the Arkham games, even you start off facing very, very low level characters, or enemies. And you'll fight a decent amount of them. It was different because of the way the gameplay was. But I wouldn't be surprised if later on in the game, you're coming up against, enemies that have different characteristics that make it a little bit more challenging. Kind of like when they start introducing the snipers and stuff in Arkham. But I haven't gotten a chance to play the game yet. I'm still waiting to buy it. But from what you're saying, it sounds like it's kind of like more of a wave battle game for the most part, like moving through the city though.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's linear. It's not even open world. And so because it's Brainiac's taken over and he's taken over the Justice League somehow. And that's why you have to kill the Justice League. I don't know where this child Poison Ivy came in. I don't know where I heard that from, but I haven't seen anything about Poison Ivy in there.
Interesting.
But the Wonder Woman was still her, and she didn't want any of the Suicide Squad's help, so.
Yeah. Has the story been decent so far, at least?
That's what I'm saying. That I could see the story being okay. I could see why people would hate it too.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And with the Flash and Captain Boomerang, with that whole thing, I could see why people would complain. I don't want to give anything away either.
Yeah.
But as far as the character building of the team itself, I do really like that.
Interesting.
So I can see actually liking the game, and I'm willing to keep playing and keep giving it a chance. I'm still kind of up in the air still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, it sounds like some of the complaints are legitimate then that people have had about the game. But I guess at the end of the day, the question always is the game enjoyable? And you said, that you're having some fun with it, which is good, so it's not a complete loss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you get to add different loadouts and stuff as you go along. I'm still early in the game, but
yeah,
it shows like a place where you could add loadouts and blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure there's more to explore in the game that I haven't even touched.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, yeah,
I did see something kind of cool about it, I guess. I saw a video today where apparently until you fight and kill Batman, he's stalking your group and is in the background at least a few times as you're going through. Like on a rooftop, and if you shoot at him, he drops a smoke bomb, bats show up, and then he's not there anymore.
I will say there is a part when you first meet Batman, you could tell he's possessed or whatever, and you're kind of creeped out because he does take out your whole team and stuff. Jeez. And you're in a Batman museum and stuff like that, and you can't tell if it's Batman or a Batman cardboard cutout or what, and it does kind of psych you out too.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I watched that playthrough. That was I kept thinking that the person that was playing was screwing something up because their guy just got knocked out, and then it just automatically threw him to another person.
I thought I was screwing it up, but no, it was part of the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, keep us updated on that, and maybe we'll jump in there with you at some point. I'm sure it's probably better with friends to a degree. It's probably made for friends, but yeah, keep us updated. And that kind of segues a little bit. So I only played 10 minutes of Palworld. I bought it today. I played it for 10 minutes before I jumped on here, and I'm just got first impressions on this, and I will sit here and tell you the only things I've really done in this game is build a workbench and punch a cat in the face multiple times. But I think overall, the graphics look good. It gives me Zelda vibes from Switch.
Nice.
Yeah, it has a very strong Zelda feel to it, along with the idea of an open world Pokemon game. But then also with the with Valheim, you can see there was a lot of inspiration taken from that. So when they say it's a crossover of all these games, they're not lying. It is. And this is just from playing for 10 minutes, and I built a little pal ball or whatever they call it to try to catch one. And after I knocked the cats out, I thought I was supposed to throw it at them, but I was wrong and lost the only pal ball I have. So now I got to find iridium somewhere so I can build another one. It's I haven't figured out anything in this game yet, but I like the that you can learn new crafting skills, which is very similar to games like Icarus and Ark. You could you basically have your crafting tree that you just kind of, as you build levels, can pick different things you can build. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And the first thing when you walk out of a cave, there's a woman sitting by a fire holding a sniper rifle, and she gives you, don't take this the wrong way, but she gives you some wood to build something. It's not that kind of game.
Hey, go use this wood on something, boy.
She's like, I'm about to give you some wood. But yeah, it's just the first few minutes are enjoyable, and and I'm definitely interested to go play more once we're done here. So yeah, overall, I'll be coming back with more about that probably next week, because I'm going to probably get lost in that game in any free time that I have.
Between those two, it's sounding like I should be buying Palworld.
I think so. I mean, so Rick's got 2 hours into Suicide Squad. I've got 10 minutes into Palworld, and I feel like I made the right decision going with Palworld on this one.
And I mean, Suicide Squad is twice the price of Palworld.
Yep,
probably over that.
Well, AAA game, from
2.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it costs like 67 or something.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be buying Palworld. Probably shortly after we finish this episode.
And if any of our listeners want to play Palworld,
the offer still stands.
But I'm trying to decide if I'm going to buy it on Xbox or Steam, because I don't really get an opportunity to use my computer or my TV without somebody else getting frustrated with me. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It is fully. You can use the Xbox controller if you buy it on Steam and everything. It is fully integrated. I mean, I play on Steam, but I think it's cross-platform. Most games are now.
Yeah,
I'd have to double check that, but I think it is cross-platform. Yeah, let me know if you get it. We'll play.
Yeah.
And then
I will be getting it. It's just a matter of what.
Yeah, right. But it is fun. It does. It gives you like the it's basically taken several games that I really love and enjoy and mashed them together into one insane like video game. And so I'm not upset at all. I really feel like I'm going to be lost in this for the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seemed right up your alley.
Yeah,
in terms of the games you like. Rick, I feel like you play a lot of different games from every genre, it seems like. Adam, I kind of feel like you tend to go towards the survival games.
Oh, I love those. Those are my favorites.
Or at least that's what you sink the most time into it, at the very least.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, like I said, I kind of felt like that was right up your alley. I'm happy to hear your 10 minutes was enjoyment.
Yeah. It was a lot of what the fuck am I doing, but at the same time, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, what I've heard at least is it kind of throws you right into it, and there's not a large barrier to entry with it either.
No.
Like
I figured out the game already.
You can make a workbench, within the first 10 minutes.
I figured out the basics of this game already.
Yeah,
I barely played.
And like 7 days and Ark, I've tried to join you in those, and I've been freaking lost off the bat.
Yes.
Like, had no idea what I was doing. And both of those, I've watched playthroughs, and I've watched, long form content with both of those games. And I was like, oh yeah, 7 Days to Die seems fun. And I join in with you and your buddies playing, and I've got no idea what's going on. I'm jumping around in a house y'all made with a wall around it. And I'm like, all right, cool. What do you need me to do? What can I do? And you're like, well, you can't do much right now. I'm like, okay, so what should I be doing?
Yeah, that's one of those games. If you try to jump into it when like you have people that have been playing for a while, and then it's just like, okay, little guy, just hang out here to the side for a little bit. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
But like, because especially when my group of guys that I play with, like we've been doing this so long, we all know our role in the game. We know what our specifics are. Like we know that my brother builds the house. That's what his job is like, house improvement, defense improvement. My buddy Ed, his job is to go down and start mining and just get all the resources he possibly can. My job is to go out and run missions and try to try to get as much loot as possible to bring back to the house. Like, it's just like you have those parts that you play in it, and you just know it. So when somebody else comes in, what can you do? Well, like come raid houses, I guess. Let's go kill some zombies.
Yeah. And that was my issue with Ark is when I bought and started playing Ark, I was really excited because I love dinosaurs. I'm not going to lie. That's from the time I was a little kid. Dinosaurs have been one of my favorite things ever. So I was really excited to see a survival game with dinosaurs. And I get in and I'm all happy and I'm killing little dodos and I'm killing, Dilophosaurus and that sort of stuff. And I finally get a house built. I'm like, all right, I'm done for the day. I'll pick this back up again tomorrow. And I log back in the next day and all of my stuff's destroyed and nothing is left. And my body is drugged to the far ends of the earth. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And apparently I can't get into a server that is just me because they were all PvP servers back when I tried. And it was just freaking demoralizing because unless I had 20 people around the world jumping in at different times, there was nothing I could do to get started with this.
No, you have to play on the PvE servers until you get kind of good at learning how to hide places. And that I tried to log back into Ark over the summer, and that game is a shit show now. I'll tell you that much. Like, you can't build anywhere because people found a hack basically that you can build pillars just everywhere, and you can't build your base within so much of somebody else's base, and those little pillars count as a base. So it's like you can't build anywhere. So it's like, well, this is pointless. So you're just getting eaten by dinosaurs while you're trying to find a place to make a little homestead. So I was like, all right, cool. This game is over for me. But I hadn't played it in a while. I jumped in just to see, and I was like, yeah, no, this is a shit show. I'm done.
Yeah. But that's kind of why I've been excited for Palworld. Seems like you can basically be on your own or with your friends, or you can join a PvP server. I guess. I think. I don't know if there's.
I didn't see anything about that, but yeah,
I'm sure we can enjoy it. We like the Sons of the Forest.
We do.
Yeah, y'all been playing Sons of the Forest.
Yeah, that's such a great game.
We haven't played it for a while, weeks. But I feel like I can pick it up any time and enjoy it, though.
We were having fun, though. Like, I was running around holding up, enemy heads at groups of people so that they run away. That was fun. Then we were putting heads on spikes, trying to deter cannibals from coming at us.
I've realized that's a game you have to play with people.
Yes.
Because all those caves apparently are not... There's no easy, medium, hard.
No.
It's all hard.
When we cleared that one cave, I don't know how many times we died. It was at least 11 or 12 each.
Yeah.
And they had those little demon babies running at us that we were just running around being like, let's kill some babies.
It was terrible.
Yeah. That was rough. I texted my buddy because he's like, you ever play Sons of the Forest anymore? I'm like, yeah, me and my buddy played the other day. We cleared a cave. He's like, you actually made it through a cave? I'm like, yeah. And he's like,
but I don't know what we did because they didn't end it. It let us keep playing, so
yeah. So
we cheated somehow, but I'm not going to complain about it.
I think when you're playing in multiplayer, you just keep respawning. I don't think there's a permadeath.
I ain't complaining about it.
No,
but we do have to get back on that, though.
Yeah, cool. There is one more thing I forgot that I didn't put on our list that I wanted to talk about. Me and my wife have been watching that show on Netflix, Griselda, which has been really good. Have you guys seen that one?
No, I know nothing about it.
It's about Griselda Blanco, who was the godmother of cocaine down in Miami. It has Sofia Vergara as playing Griselda, but it's the story of her in the 70s and the 80s becoming this ultra powerful drug cartel. Viagra? Yes.
Nice.
That's the one, Sofia Viagra.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
keep going.
but yeah, no, the show itself is really good. It's a 6-part series. And I think we just finished episode 4. We've got 2 more left. But it's really interesting because somebody I'd never heard of. It's a true story too. And she was somebody that I had never heard of before. But I mean, she starts a cartel in Miami with like nothing. And just like all the shit she goes through and everything, how she becomes just this violent warlord, basically with a little Cuban army. Like it's insane. And the show itself is crazy. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's something. It's something. It's good though.
I do want to add something else as well. I wasn't able to do a review of Argyle this week, and just real quick, it is a chick flick spy movie, and it did have an interesting, what looked like to be a way to connect to another universe at the end. So stay for the after credits, but I still gave it probably, I don't like giving like a decimal point. So like I'd have to give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Personally. So if there's nothing else to see, like Madam Web's coming up, which I'm probably going to have to see that. If it's between that and Madam Web, I don't know. Like, yeah, you're probably going to have to flip a coin.
I do want to go see Argyle. It looked interesting from the trailers, but yeah, I have heard that complaint that it is more of just kind of a chick flick.
It definitely jumped the shark of what you thought the movie was.
Okay. Yeah. And it was from Matthew Vaughn, and you can tell his
yes, I used that right, Sam.
Yeah.
It's when it switches its premise.
I'm just wondering, at what point did they jump the shark?
At what point did they jump the shark?
Yeah. Like, what was the point? That
I can't tell you. I can't tell you. The premise is not what is presented in the trailer.
Gotcha.
Basically.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, Matthew.
It means
he's trying to find flaw in what you said.
One way, but then it turns to another thing.
That's not what jumping the shark means, though.
Yes, it is.
No, jumping the shark means overplaying the premise.
It means that you have a premise and then the premise switches.
No, that's not what that means.
Yes, because that's when in Happy Days, when the Fonz jumped the shark, that's when Happy Days switched from the original premise from what they were originally doing. It did not focus on what the original premise was.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'll give it to you.
I'm just letting you know.
But Matthew Vaughn's...
I'm going to win on this one. I mean, you could challenge me that one, but...
Well, so Matthew Vaughn's like artistic style is, you can like tell, even from the trailers, it's in there. And he usually has some really good action in his movies. So it's interesting to hear that he kind of went that direction with it after watching things like the Kingsman movies. That he kind of went to a more softer side, I guess I want to say, with his movie. Because I mean, is it ultra violent like Kingsman was?
I mean, there's a lot of fighting in it. It's not bloody.
All right, fair enough. Well, Argyle, go see it if you have some free time, I guess. Cool. Well, I think this is a good time for us to take a quick commercial break before we go on to our favorite black-led movies.
Hey everyone, Adam from Spit Take Podcast here. If you're enjoying this week's episode and want to relive some of the best moments, make sure to head over to our YouTube page where you can have access to all of the funniest and best conversations between me, Rick, and Sam, as well as full-length episodes you may have missed. Just search at Spit Taker or Spit Take Podcast and make sure to subscribe to see all the latest from the Spit Take Podcast crew. Enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, welcome back to Spit Take Podcast. Thank you for sticking with us through that short commercial break. Next up, we're going to be talking about our favorite black-led movies. Who wants to kick this thing off? Rick, Adam?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with the most obvious, probably one of the few that all three of us have seen, love, and enjoy, and it was iconic for its day. I'm going with Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, that is still iconic to this day.
It is still iconic. Cleveland Little was amazing as Bart. Gene Wilder as the Waco Kid. Everything about this movie. And if you've never seen this, like, this is one of the ones that we'll tell you, whatever you're doing next weekend, make a couple hours to sit down and watch it. I know it's streaming. I don't know what channel it's on, but
on Max.
Is it on Max?
Yeah.
No.
But it's a classic. It's Mel Brooks at his best. This was probably the top of his game. There's just so much to be said about this movie, and it was a big slap in the face to racism back in the 70s. It was huge, and the whole premise of this movie is basically that this railroad company wants to get rid of this town, but they keep requesting help. The governor's like, hey, well, we'll send somebody who can't help them, and they send Cleveland Little to be the sheriff. So he's a black sheriff in this town of all white people who absolutely hate him, and he ends up winning their love and their trust, and eventually becomes accepted by the town. And I mean, the whole movie is a parody of Westerns. It's so funny, and some of the gags in there were the first of their kind. This one has never officially been proven, but they said that this movie was the first time that they ever used a fart noise in a movie. And the gag where towards the end of the movie, they break into they basically go to the Warner Brothers lot, and they're fighting through like a cafeteria, a musical theater set, like where they're just like kind of breaking the fourth wall and going through there. That was supposedly the first time that's ever been done. But the whole movie is it's outrageous. It's so much fun. It's so quotable. There's certain things that we will never dare quote from that movie, but it is so good. Yes. It is so good.
Yeah, most of this movie is unquotable by three middle-aged white guys. But yeah, it's like when he shows up at the town and you've got the miner up on the roof. When he actually rides into town and they've got the big parade or the big, rally set up for him to greet him, and how he gets out of that. I love Gene Wilder wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. And then
they wanted Richard Pryor to be Cleveland Little, but he he had too many references to drugs and stuff like that, which is too bad because
he was a writer, though.
Him and Gene Wilder had so many movies together after that, too.
Yeah, Richard Pryor was a writer on the movie, though.
Yep.
But do you also know who the first person offered the Waco Kid part was?
Oh, I'm forgetting.
The man himself, John Wayne.
Yeah.
But he turned it down because he thought that he's like, this is just not my image. And he's like, I can't do this part. He's like, I love the script and I will be the first person in line to see it. But
which I can't blame him because it's not, it wouldn't have worked with John Wayne.
No, but how great would that have been?
I could have seen it with, I could have seen it with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see John Wayne playing that part.
Yeah, but Gene Wilder was perfect for that. And I think one of my favorite lines from that movie that I laugh hysterically every time I hear it is when he first gets into town and all the people are standing there as he's on this podium about to talk, and he's like about to pull out his speech. He's like, "Excuse me while I whip this out," and everybody screams.
Yeah.
But it played on so many of the stereotypes and the racism was back in the day that it makes the movie so funny.
I think, though, the fact that it was more than a comedy, though, there's so much seriousness attached to it. Like when he he's going for a walk, and the old lady said that very hurtful thing to him, and you can see
yours.
Yeah. And you could see he's really hurt, and Gene Wilder's trying to cheer him up, but it's like I was feeling for him there, how hurt he really was, and how he genuinely wanted the people to like him. And then when he tamed what's the big dude with the ox? Mongo. And then the old lady came by with the pie, and then she's like, "Don't tell anybody, though."
Sorry
so
about
it's like,
up yours.
And so he's like, "Oh, they'll be nice to me in public in 25 years,"
No.
And it's like, wow, there's really I don't know, there's more than just a comedy there. There's a lot of emotion that goes to that.
There is, and and just the whole cast all around, and just like how diverse of a cast it was, made it so great. I mean, Madeline Kahn as Lily Von Stupp.
Oh God,
she's perfect. And
so
God,
good.
Madeline Kahn is so funny in everything. When she was in Young Frankenstein, she was great. But like Mel Brooks just has this way of writing these stories to like really attack, like these groups. I mean, especially like he's always gone after the Nazis, and made a big joke about them. And just this movie again has just so many quotable lines. It's unforgettable as a movie. And I think my dad showed me it when I was like, I want to say like 8 or 9 years old, and I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
I gotta say my favorite, where he's like, "Where are all the white women at?"
Yeah. Oh, boys, look what I got here. My favorite line from the entire movie was a Mongo line, and Mongo only pawned in Game of Life. That's the line I quote more than anything else. Other than where all the white women at. I also love when he's like, "Look at this hand, solid as a rock. Yeah, but I shoot with this one."
I just like going back, like just playing that movie in my head. It's so funny. So many great scenes. And it really is. I mean, Cleveland Little brought that character to life. Him and Gene Wilder. I mean, it was basically a buddy cop movie about the two of them. I don't know what else you can really say about it. The movie is just it was ahead of its time for sure.
And they did such a great job setting the scene for what he and people like him were dealing with in that time. When at the beginning they're on the handcart and they're pushing the handcart down the rails, and then they end up in quicksand. And I can't remember the actor or his character in the
Slim
show.
Pickens.
And he's like, yes. He's like, oh, dang. He's like, throw a rope on around that handcart, pull that thing out.
Yeah.
They pull the handcart out. They don't give a shit about the two guys that went in there. That right there set the tone for what that movie was fighting against. And that was fantastic.
Yeah. And there's a lot of jokes in there that I wouldn't say are timeless, because there's certain things in there that are references to, older actors and everything that I don't really get until I read the trivia, and I'm like, oh, that's what that means. But, like the Hedley Lamar thing, I don't know who Hedy Lamar
Hedley.
is.
It's not Hedy. It's Hedley.
Yeah. But she did end up suing them over it.
Yep.
So that's fun. But then
just so many impression, Jesse Owens.
Yep. But so many great gags, and it's so much fun. If you have not seen this movie and you've got some time, sit down and watch it. It is absolutely amazing. It will blow your mind. You will laugh harder than you ever have.
It is one of those movies that people have tried to cancel because they look back at it as racist. And it is lampooning racists. It is making fun of the racist people and the racist ideologies in this day and age and that day and age. And
it was really playing like Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd with racism, kind of, from the beginning.
Even a Bugs Bunny reference, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, if you look at it, all the people who were just like extremely racist in the movie were all big idiots too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, most of the townsfolk were dumb as hell.
The drunk guy that nobody could understand. He's like, he said it best.
Yeah. That was the miner.
And then, well, and then but just the bad guys, you know, Taggart and his little buddy and everything, like they're complete morons. So, I mean, it's combating racism is what the movie was doing. And that was the whole purpose. And Mel Brooks even said, he's like, I made this movie because I was tired of hearing these racist assholes like make their rants and everything. He's like, I'm going to do something to like kind of be, you know, show like, hey, like they're just as good.
I mean, that there was even the reference, and it was the first or one of the earliest movies that I've seen kept in when an actor breaks. When Gene Wilder's talking to what's his name again?
Cleveland Little.
Slim
Pickens, Cleveland Little,
talking to Cleveland Little, and he's like, you know, it's okay. These people are, you know, the just small town people, and this and that. In other words, morons. Cleveland Little breaks, and they just changed the scenes right then. But they kept in his break because it was so true.
Well, and I was like reading some trivia about this earlier today, just getting ready for the show, and I guess Mel Brooks said that he ended up getting a lot of mail from you know, about people complaining about the overuse of the N-word in the movie, and he said that a majority of it came from white people.
Yep.
Like,
which,
and, you know, it
still holds true.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a classic movie, and I can't wait to watch that one again sometime soon. I was trying to get it in sometime this week before before the show, but I just didn't have time to do it. But you know, it's something that I can watch anytime. I'm
pretty sure this is the movie that Mel Brooks, they had their screening before it was released to theaters. And and they told him that he had to cut all this stuff and everything else, and he left and he was like, yep, I'll do that. Yeah, absolutely. I'll cut all that before it's released, and then didn't cut a damn thing.
He was smart. He had it written into his contract that he got final say in what was cut from the movie. Yep. And on top of that, when they did the screening for the executives, like almost nobody was laughing at it. Yeah. And they were about to shelve it. And then Mel Brooks set up a screening for a bunch of like the studio hands to like sit down and watch it. And there was just like uproarious laughter. And that's like how the movie got pushed through. Yeah. But like Mel Brooks, like time and again, like you hear stories of him just saying like hearing people say, oh, you got to cut this, you got to do this from the studio. And he's like, sure, I'll do that. And he just doesn't, because he doesn't give a fuck. And that's why Mel Brooks is the legend he is.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. And since we're talking classics such as Blazing Saddles, I mean, I'm going to follow that up with just a classic all in itself, Blankman.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Listen,
I was going to say, I think I've seen the movie once.
I used to think everybody loved Blankman, and then I watched it for the first time in a long time this week, and got the same feeling I always got since I watched it. And then I looked on Wikipedia and stuff like that. It's like everybody gave it a low score. What the heck's up with that? I don't think people got it. And to me, when I watched Blankman, and when I watched it as a kid, because I grew up obsessively watching Adam West Batman over and over and over again. And I felt like that's what Blankman was more or less an homage to Adam West Batman. Every scene where it was kind of a superhero comic booky scene was set up in that camera angle style. There was a political message in it that was not in your face, but was kind of a part of the story. The character was overplayed, but it was a spoof. It was a spoof of a superhero movie. Like, that's what it was supposed to be. And I thought the jokes were actually spot on for what you would think to be a in living color crowd watching two actors that were on in living color.
Yeah.
As a duo. And that's what I was watching it as. This was 2 years after they were on in living color. And that's what I remember seeing them on. So it was that kind of stupid humor to me. Plus, I got the Damon Wayans, she only likes Blankman. She don't like me, but she likes him. That story kind of thing. He had these fun, silly gadgets. They were, they were kind of funny. The super chucks and the stuff like that. Like, they were kind of cool. They were kind of fun. He had this thing where he's riding on the rails and stuff like that. So there was a tragic loss, superhero beginning when I think it was their aunt or grandma died, got blown up by the supervillain. So I guess the movie has a cult following, and I'm a part of that cult following. I'm a fan of both David Alan Grier and Damon Wayans. I was always a fan of the humor of this movie. I always liked the story of this movie. And I always liked the inventiveness of this movie.
Yeah, I wish I could contribute more to that one. I don't really remember that movie that well. I know I saw it a long time ago. I love Damon Wayans too. And because one of my picks coming up is Major Payne. And he's just so fantastic of an actor. He's so good, and I love everything that he does. And Living Color was always amazing. God, what was the name of the clown?
Homie
the Clown.
Oh, yeah. We don't play that.
Yeah.
What about, you might want to mark this one, Handicap Man?
I think we can leave that in.
You don't remember that one?
I don't remember that. I don't remember Handicap Man. I'm going to have to go watch a clip on that.
Look that one up.
Yeah. We'll see if that one got flagged somewhere. But no, Damon Wayans was so great in everything that he did, and I have a hard time believing that Blankman, again, I don't really remember it, but, I'm kind of curious to go back and watch it now that, because we have a similar taste in movies. So I think that I would probably enjoy that if I went back and saw it again, and it was funny because I just looked it up now. And a similar movie to that ended up having just about the same, if not a little bit higher of a score, Orgasmo. So, it's that was a really funny movie too, but along the same vein, with pun intended, but kind of along the same lines, except that he's a Mormon porn star doing the whole thing. I think there's just a little bit more to the story there, but I mean, Blankman, was a funny concept of just Damon Wayans going out to become this streetwise superhero who's just kind of silly.
The white guys are the porn stars. The black guys are the clean ones.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one again. I'll have to check that out. Again, I wish I could contribute more to that one.
Well,
Cool.
what's
Sam,
your next one?
Sam, do you want to do one?
So, as I've previously told y'all, when you told me we were going to be covering this topic during Black History Month, I thought you were joking, because three white guys talking about black-led movies really seems a little tone deaf. But so I didn't really prepare. But as y'all were talking about Blankman, I remembered one of my favorite shows as a kid was Static Shock.
Oh yeah,
and
it's a good one.
Yeah, that one I remember dealing with a lot of great issues as a kid, from drug use to racism. Static's best friend's dad is a full-blown racist, and I remember that and watching every single episode of that. I haven't seen any of it in years. I don't even know where you can watch it now. But that, and then while in the process of thinking about that, while y'all were talking about Blankman, thinking about just how many DC superheroes have electric powers and how that's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. Got Livewire.
Yeah.
Static Shock. Yeah. Black Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a good show too.
Yeah, I never watched that one. I know you did, but
yeah, that was good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always like Static Shock. So that's pretty much all I have to add to the conversation. So I'm sure I can say some stuff to other things y'all are talking about. Though, like I said earlier, I think I've seen Blankman once.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was old enough at the time to really appreciate everything that was going on with the movie, but yeah, it just seemed like a weird, funny Wayans movie.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to skip ahead just to piggyback onto Blankman. I'm going to talk about Scary Movie 1 and 2 and A Haunted House. All three of those are Wayans brother movies. They're not necessarily the leads in those movies, because Anna Faris in Scary Movie 1 and 2 was really the lead in it. But they were a heavy presence. That was Marlon Wayans and God, now I'm drawing a blank. But in any case, A Haunted House though was actually starring Marlon Wayans, and that was a funny movie, and that's one I like to watch every Halloween season. Because it was a parody of Paranormal Activity, and everything that happens in that movie is just so damn funny, and it's really their classic style. You can't go wrong with the Wayans brothers. Like, what they do is always funny. It's always good. There's always thought behind it. Doesn't matter which one of the Wayans you're working with. It's what they're doing is good. But Scary Movie 1 and 2, of course, was iconic. That was That was it was interesting because, like, when you think about parody movies, that's usually a couple of the ones that pop up to you is like the Scary Movie series, because they were probably some of the last good parody movies before they all turned to shit, and a lot of that has to
the Scary Movie series, the Not Another Teen Movie. I'd even say like Cabin in the Woods, even though I don't know if that's could be really straight classified as a parody, but it kind of has that
kind of a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like the Scary Movie 1 and 2 were just so damn funny, and like Stitches laughing at that because it's just picking out all the terrible cliches that horror movies do, and just like really having fun with it. And A Haunted House is basically in the same premise of that. It's just a parody of Paranormal Activity that's just got a bunch of silly things from horror movies. Nick Swardson was in it, who was hilarious every single time. David Koechner was in it. So, I mean, like, just they have this way of just being like the funniest people in the world. But yeah, I mean, I'll always give them huge credit for that. You know, I love the Wayans brothers.
Is that the one where he's like, does this make me look gay? And he's like, no. And he ties his shirt and he goes, does this make me look gay?
That was, yeah, that was Scary Movie 1, I think. Yeah, I think that was the first Scary Movie.
That's the one where the ghost does him up the butt.
That's a haunted house. That was that one. So they were like going to check the camera footage the next day and everything, and it just shows him being pounded by the ghost.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of all the Wayans. That's why, from In Living Color on, actually, I'm surprised it's not on. I'm surprised this isn't on Adam's list, and Sam probably would mention it, but Beverly Hills Cop, Damon Wayans is in that. I noticed because I watched that this week.
Yes.
So that was interesting. But from In Living Color on, I've enjoyed all the Wayans brothers. Like Mo Money, like everything they've done, every single one of them. So they had the Wayans brothers had the show, or the sitcom, and then Damon Wayans even had Lethal Weapon for a little bit. I don't know what happened with that. I wish that would have kept going, but
it was good. I watched a few episodes of it. Sean William Scott eventually came on the show with him.
Yeah. But yeah, always been a huge fan of Damon Wayans. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'll just go with my other pick then, just to kind of tie it in. But Major Payne is one that's on my list, and that one was a little bit more for. I don't know if I would even say it's for kids, but definitely young adults. But that was a funny movie. I think the first time I saw it was on TV. But that was a funny movie, and that was one. So I worked with kids for about 3 years or so in a veteran boot camp style training environment, and we used to joke all the time about how our summer camp was basically came about because of that movie. Because we were tough on those kids sometimes, and the kids loved it. They loved doing it. I think, hopefully, but. It was, but again, it's a movie with a lot of quotable lines in it. And Damon Wayans was such a badass. It was a movie when I saw when I was younger, I wanted to be like Damon Wayans in that movie, like how badass he was, especially in the beginning. He's just going through and just killing all those guys in the warehouse. And he was just this tough badass. I don't even know how else to really put it, but I loved his character in that. And you just look at who he is and you're just that's the kind of guy I want to be. But yeah, that was a fun movie overall.
I just love the, what's her name from Fresh Prince?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name. Oh yes. Yeah. Okay. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but that was a fun movie. I really liked Major Payne. I think the part that just cracked me up so much was when they were trying to get rid of him, and they were like, "Oh, we'll take a picture of one of you in the bed with him or whatever." And so they sneak in, and he's laying there with his eyes open. And they're like, "Yeah, these special forces guys, they sleep with their eyes open. It's fine." So they put the kid in there, and he's laying there, and he's like, "All right, just take the picture." And then his arm slowly comes up, and he just turns and looks at me and goes, "Hello, Danny." I'll scream and run. That was just such a funny moment in that movie.
They had us watch that in Basic too.
Yeah. Well, the other one that I use this a lot. I use this a lot when people call off of work, and I'll just say, "Oh man," I was like, "We got a bunch of little sickly boys here, don't we?" Oh my God, that's a funny movie. And again, oh God, I almost forgot about this part in the movie where he's I think he's at the train station and he's like looking out at like this backyard, and he's imagining his life if he got with the girl and everything, and they adopted the kid, and he's like out there and he's barbecuing and they're laughing and having a good time. And all of a sudden, this ninja comes out of nowhere in this fantasy, and his face just turns. Like it shows his like face, like looking at it, and his face just turns. And then like the guy comes at him, and he just beats him with a spatula and burns his face on the grill. It's like he's supposed to be having this happy fantasy, and he's still killing in it. Just that movie is so good.
Yeah.
God, now I want to rewatch that one too. That one's been a while.
So I feel like we're just on a Wayans Brothers kick, which is fine, I'm sure.
Adam's taken like 5 turns now, so
I love the Wayans Brothers, and you know what? Just so much of it ties in.
So I'll jump in here with another Wayans Brothers movie that always gave me a kick back in the day. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
Oh man. So it's basically them parodying the black culture movies from the early 90s. Like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. So it's just another one of those that I always got a kick out of because was it Shawn Wayans was just the dumbass brother who's the hood rat gangster, and he ends up having like binkies tied on his hair coming out to the side. But no, that was just another one that I remember that was really good, was really funny.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it. Interesting.
Yeah, it's one to check out for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. I'll have to add that to my list. Check that one out. Cool. Rick, go ahead. You can have a couple because I know I kind of stole this conversation for a while.
Okay. The next one I'll bring in is if I can fit in a Rocky movie anywhere, I will. And so I guess I'll bring in Creed. And Creed is pretty much Apollo Creed had an illegitimate son, and his widowed wife found out about him and brought him in and raised him, and he decided he wanted to fight, even though he could have been a lawyer or something like that. And he wants to train with Rocky and stuff like that. I really just love the Rocky series, and yes, this was kind of shoehorned in, but still, I enjoyed this, and I enjoy Michael B. Jordan and his performance in this. And one thing that really got me about this, because he obviously had these behavioral issues in this, and me as a therapist is kind of analyzing this, and he's just resistant, and you can't figure out, well, why is he so resistant all the time? He's resistant to take on the Creed name, and he's like, well, he doesn't want to screw it up, and then in the end, it finally comes out. He's like, what are you trying to prove? And he's like, I'm trying to prove that I'm not a mistake. And it was just interesting to me that it was just this young man walking around with this idea. The whole reason he's doing all this is just to prove that he's good enough to exist. And that for me just made this such a powerful movie. And the series going forward, I thought was cool because then it brought back, Drago and I know there was some controversy with the third one and Sylvester Stallone, but I still enjoyed it. But I'll open the floor to you guys.
I haven't seen any of the Creed movies yet. I wasn't as big of a Rocky fan as you. I do want to watch them at some point, but I haven't gotten around to those. But I do like Michael B. Jordan. It's interesting. I was watching Burn Notice not long ago, and he showed up in one of the episodes as like a young kid that Michael was trying to help. And when I first saw him, I was like, "Is that him?" Because he was like kind of a scrawny, like young kid, and he doesn't look anything like he does now. But like he had some of the facial features where I had to look it up, and I was like, "Huh, interesting." Interesting to see how far he's come along, though. You know, Fantastic Four, which I heard was terrible. I didn't even bother watching it. But I mean, him and Black Panther was great. He's Michael B. Jordan in general is just a really, really overall good actor. And I hope, and I heard the movies are good. So, maybe I'll have to sit down and watch them.
I honestly can't think of a movie or even a TV show I've seen him in that I didn't think he did a bad job, or that I thought he did a bad job in.
Yes. I was going to say I've seen movies he's in that were not good, but not because of him. Right. Exactly. He's a solid actor, regardless of the role. So I'm gonna agree with you. I haven't watched the Creed movies myself. I've wanted to watch them. I just haven't found the time. I know Rick is definitely the biggest Rocky fan here. But yeah, it's certainly one of those that I've been wanting to see. Yeah. Again, without Remorse, he was in, and that was a god awful movie. It was just so fucking bad. But again, it had nothing to do with him. I think he did the best with the quasi script they wrote. It was not a good movie. I was like really excited for that because that was one of my favorite books, and I was excited to see him playing the role of John Kelly in it. But it was shit. The whole movie was shit. But he is coming back as John Clark for the Rainbow Six movie. So hopefully they do a much better job with that one. So, because I'm excited to see that one. Rainbow Six, with all the games and everything they've had to live up to, I think that I hope that they do a really good job.
Yeah.
And I think he'll do a good job in that part.
Okay, so I think the next movie I'm going to talk about is Boys in the Hood.
No.
Sorry, I was trying not to laugh because it sounded funny when I said it. Boys in the Hood.
A lot of this stuff will sound funny coming from, once again, middle-aged white guys.
But I think the thing about this movie is it's about trauma, and a lot of the people that I've worked with people in prisons, jails, substance abuse clinics, whatnot, that have, been in the hood, been in the ghetto, yada, 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 that I've heard similar stories that are portrayed in this movie. So it's interesting because in the movie you kind of see some of the trauma reactions, like when the girl, she's like doing her homework and then you hear a gunshot going off and then you just see her shaking all of a sudden. And then Ice Cube, he's just got this nonstop resting bitch face, that goes on and on. He does a great job of that. And he kind of plays the guy that's like, he's not going anywhere. He's there. He's just going to get drunk and stay there. But it's interesting how in the end, he kind of realizes that like nobody understands that they're in a dangerous area. Like nobody's coming to help them. They think America thinks the problem and the danger is outside of them. They don't understand the dangers like in Compton or in the south side of Chicago. Like, they don't understand it's like right there, and hundreds of, black men are dying every day. And Morris Chestnut, I believe it was Cuba Gooding Jr., they played the guys that were trying to get out of there, and then Morris Chestnut, he ended up dying in a drive-by, and then seeing like everybody doing what they had to do, and then the trauma that's left over from that, not only seeing everything but actually having to take action on those things. So I looked at this movie as kind of like 1990s Outsiders.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like, it's very similar in tone, almost. Like, it's, it's hard to say. It's just, it gives you a really good look at life, for those young black men living in the ghetto, living in a bad part of town, and it's like this is the only choice they have. A lot of them want to get out, but what choice do they have, really? It was interesting. I actually had a guy come into work the other day that I was interviewing, and he, we got into a nice conversation and stuff, and he was, we ended up in a conversation about that and everything, and he's like, when I was young, he's like, I made some mistakes, and he's like, I was living on the south side of Chicago. He's like, you look for a father figure. He's like, the father figures that present themselves are not always the best ones for you in reality, but you don't know that. You're just looking for somebody to kind of like, help you through. And he was like, and that's how you end up with the gangs and stuff. So it's really interesting to kind of hear those stories and that perspective, and just like, all it was, for a lot of this, all it would take is a really good father figure in somebody's life to, change it like that, It's really interesting. So I agree. That's a fantastic
Fishburne
movie.
Was a good father figure. That's why Cuba Gooding Jr. was so good. Unfortunately, the hood was just that bad, and he still got caught up in it. Even though he still got out, he was that close from getting caught up in it.
But the life gets you, man. And Ice Cube, I love Ice Cube in just about everything he's in. 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street has the I think it was the lieutenant or the captain. He was so good in that. But this movie was like a huge breakout for him. And it's tough because it's tough for us to, growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, it's tough for us to really relate to this as much as like this is reality, but it is reality for some people.
It's a movie that I feel really epitomizes the sins of the father or the sins of the son. Because that's what it all seems to boil down to. And it takes an exceptionally strong will to break free from that.
Yeah. 100%. That's a good pick. A little bit more serious than some of the ones we brought up so far.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, once again, I was randomly reminded of another movie that I freaking love. It was John Wick before John Wick. It was that style of movie. And it's Man on Fire.
Oh, fucking love that movie.
Dude, Denzel at his best. Denzel, one of the greatest actors of our time.
Yes.
Regardless of the role, he is fantastic. But yeah, he's basically a security guy, but ends up just being a more or less a babysitter for this white family in Mexico. and then the little girl that he's babysitting gets kidnapped, and the entire movie is spent with him trying to get her back from like taking out an entire gang establishment in a Mexican bar to shoving a frag up a guy's anus to like just it's a fantastic action movie, and I don't think anybody could have done it like Denzel did it.
No, that is a fantastic movie. And as soon as you mentioned John Wick in the style of John Wick, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. That's one of my favorite movies. It's a great, revenge tale and everything. Because I think he thinks she's dead for most of it. And he's just trying to cut through everybody basically. But yeah, the scene where he puts the bomb up the dude's ass. And he's like, I wish you had more time, and walked away. And the guy just blows up. But I mean, he just goes through and massacres people. And and Christopher Walken in that movie, his whole line, like, he's like, Creasy's an artist. He's like, and he's about to paint his masterpiece.
Yep.
Like, just gives you the feeling of like how badass this dude is.
And
not Christopher Lloyd.
Not Christopher Lloyd.
Not Christopher Lloyd. Not to mention, it was one of the few movies that had the balls to kill off the main character at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because he did what he was sent in there to do. He did what he went in there, and his character went in there to do. He got it done. He got the girl back, and he took it, or he lost his own life doing so, but he succeeded in the mission. How many other movies that we know will bookend their movie that way? Like almost freaking none.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was a 1980 book brought into 2004, and holy crap, that movie was amazing.
It was. And I mean, he's bleeding out through basically the whole movie because he gets in that gunfight, gets shot like 6 times. And then he just like basically holds on through the whole thing until he kills everybody. But yeah, I mean, and the movie's very artistic, I want to say. Like there's like, it's a very interesting way they did the movie. Like the subtitles, the way they kind of fade in and out from the screen was like very different. It wasn't like they just popped up on the bottom. It just like showed and had like some kind of effect for it. Very, very good movie.
Yeah. And it's a movie I haven't seen in like 5 years, but I still get chills thinking about it. Thinking about the majority of the scenes in the movie. And as you said, it was artistic. It was shot so amazingly well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's the story of a character who has the sheer force of will to not die until he knows he's completed the mission. Yeah.
Badass movie.
Yes.
All right. Next movie I'm going to bring up is definitely a cult classic. Oh man, this movie, I kind of wanted to talk about this movie during the week when we talked about fight movies. But it's not a particularly great movie, but it is kind of fun. And again, it is just a cult classic that I really enjoy. It's called The Last Dragon. And if I were to tell you who was in that movie, I couldn't. There's nobody really that famous from that movie. But it takes a lot from like kung fu culture and everything, and it's about a guy basically who's trying to become a kung fu master in Harlem, and this gang shows up, the Shoguns, and he has to basically fight them out of Harlem. And he runs a dojo and everything, and he's trying to teach kids that the right way to do things is to walk away and to not fight, but to be ready if you have to. And of course he gets into a bunch of fights with people. And then at the end, he ends up becoming the master and gets something called the glow. And I mean, he's got a glow around his body. It's from, when is this, 85? Okay. So yeah, he basically gets this glow and fights the Shogun of Harlem. And the movie is ridiculous, but I absolutely love this movie, and it is, again, just a fun one. I'm looking at the IMDb right now. I don't think anybody from this movie went on to go really do anything. But if you find like the really hardcore martial artists, who are big film goers, they've probably seen this movie. Have you guys seen this one?
I know I've seen it. I know I've seen clips or something. I remember this bad guy here. I'm looking at it online. It's just been a long time.
Yeah, the Shogun of Harlem. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Sure enough. Yeah. Okay. Well, in any case, I had to bring up this movie just because it is a lot of fun. This isn't one that I would tell somebody like, hey, you have to go see this movie. But if you happen to just catch it, if it catches your eye, watch it. It is a fun movie to watch. And that's really all I got to say about that. I just had to bring up this movie.
Okay.
Mark, you can go.
All right. Whose turn is it?
It's yours.
You can go, Rick.
You go ahead.
Okay. I guess the next one I would bring up, because I'm a Marvel guy, I would bring up Black Panther.
Good movie.
Yes. I thought that movie was fantastic. I thought Cherie, his sister, was probably the best part of that movie, though. And I think Michael B. Jordan actually stole the show in that movie.
He
I was
did.
going to say, I think Cherie was great, but I think Michael B. Jordan's character was the best part of the movie.
Warmonger or whatever, right? Yeah. Well, Cherie and Michael B. Jordan both stole the show on that. What was the main actor? Chadwick Boseman. Boseman.
Rest in peace.
God rest his soul. Yeah. I think he died of cancer.
Pancreatic cancer.
Which was too bad.
He was really good too, though.
He was good. He was fantastic Black Panther. He started in the Captain America movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought the power was cool to where it just built up and then exploded. The way that whole thing, I don't know. I was some kind of force push thing there.
It was like the kinetic energy.
Yeah, the kinetic energy thing. And what was the M'Baku?
Yeah.
M'Baku. I like that character too. So there were a lot of good characters that you wanted to like in that movie too.
There was, and that it was a really good movie, and I think it was one of Marvel's best. I went into that one thinking that everybody was just really hyping it up, and I went and saw it, and I was like, it deserved all the hype. It was really good, and I think it's one of my wife's favorite movies too. She, if where I was sitting there and we're like, hey, let's watch a Marvel movie, that's the one she always goes to.
Yeah, no, the story was great. I enjoyed the movie. The visual effects, the computer effects kind of left something to be imagined for me. I wasn't a big fan of all those, but overall I did really enjoy the movie.
Yeah. I think this was one of the ones that I liked because the action wasn't so quick cut. There was a little bit of it, but it wasn't as bad as some of the movies have been. It was actually the fights were pretty good.
Yeah.
The fights were pretty good. The story was really good. It was fun to see a different culture, inside of Marvel.
I mean, part of that was Chadwick Boseman's character, which was kind of just a brawler, just a mean, heavy-handed brawler. which we get a little bit, but a lot of the Marvel movies tend to focus more on the like Black Widow style fight.
Yeah.
Where she's more of a dex build and less of a just, pure strength, which was the Warmonger character was a pure strength plus some dex.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that line at the end of the movie where Chadwick Boseman, or not Chadwick Boseman, when Michael B. Jordan is dying and he, is up on that cliff and he's like, bury me in the ocean with my ancestors because they knew that death was better than bondage and all that. It was a powerful movie, and it resonated with you, and his intentions of what he was doing I don't think were bad, and it kind of put it in a kind of a moral dilemma. It was like, yeah, they should have, they had the technology to help the rest of the world and they kept it confined within Wakanda, and he was trying to release that to the world, and it was kind of maybe not in the best way, but there was kind of some moral implications in the movie.
And people were pissed that Michael B. Jordan was dead too, because Marvel bad guys has left something left to the imagination, right? So, so once finally a good bad guy came along, then they killed them all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he did make an appearance in the What If series.
Which there is a season 2 out right now, by the way.
I haven't seen it yet. I saw the first one. I liked it.
I tried doing the season 2. It's not great in the beginning, at least. I'm like 3 episodes in. I couldn't keep going.
I love the first one, so I gotta do it. But I think I gotta wait till it's all out and binge it, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, Black Panther 2, I didn't think was that good of a movie, personally.
It wasn't. But, yeah, no, it wasn't.
I know a lot of women got the Ladywood for Namor, but I don't know. I didn't think it was that good of a movie, and I think it would have been a very different movie if Chadwick Boseman had still been alive.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think they did the best with what they had, but it just wasn't the same,
Yep. I mean, so tying that back into the news, Chadwick Boseman and Toby Keith, let's just all give a big F you to cancer. So, hey.
Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer.
I'm going to go into the last movie that I have on my list, and, well, it's not movies so much as filmmaker Jordan Peele. I really enjoy his movies. And I'm big into the horror movies, so it was nice to see when he kind of like hit the big screen with some of the stuff he was doing, that it was somewhat original. It was different. Get Out was really good movie. Us, I think, Rick, me and you went to go see Us together. That was a really good one with a nice twist at the end. And I really just enjoyed the movies that he's been making, and he kind of came out of nowhere. He had the Key and Peele show, and that was a funny show. That show cracks me up. But then all of a sudden he just jumped into doing serious horror movies, and they were fantastic. They were great. And he is doing pretty much all black protagonist for his movies, which is fine by me. Like that, I don't care. Like, write me a good story that I enjoy watching. But I really, like I said, I really like watching the Jordan Peele movies, and I hope he keeps doing more. I haven't seen Nope yet, but that is on my list to watch. I do want to watch. I've seen clips of that one. It's really interesting. They do a whole thing with aliens, I guess. But yeah, I mean, his movies have been outstanding.
It's interesting. It's a completely new premise, and that's what he does. Is he kind of takes things and makes a new premise out of things, and this is no different. This is a UFO in a different, looking at a UFO in a different, totally new light. So be prepared to not look at an alien as you see aliens.
Fair enough. But that's the great thing about his movies is they kind of like turn, you know, they are original. They kind of come up with these ideas that are just like, you know, it kind of takes you for a loop. And I saw Get Out long after it had come out. And I had already kind of gotten the idea of what the movie was and what was happening in it before I even saw it. It didn't make the movie any less enjoyable, though. Again, I think it's just his storytelling is really good. Like, there's very few, in my mind, there's very few writers out there who are telling really good, compelling stories right now. I mean, Jordan Peele, though, he is for sure one of them. And he's won me as a fan. I'm definitely going to see basically anything he does moving forward. I mean, Get Out had so many great scenes, and he does tie a little humor into it here and there, but like it's very subtle. It's very appropriate humor. And again, just overall enjoyable movies. That's all I got to say about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rick, do you have anything else to add?
The only movie I added last minute was Independence Day. I figure if you're gonna
have Will Smith here.
Yeah, I figure if you're gonna talk black leads, you gotta have a Will Smith movie, and that's probably going to be my top Will Smith movie. And I thought he was definitely the cool guy in that movie, and the part where he's actually in the alien ship is like one, especially when you're like a kid watching that, is one of the most tense scenes. Just thinking of yourself like being in an alien ship and stuff like that. It's like kind of surreal when you put yourself in that situation. So, you know, I want to give that an honorable mention.
Yeah. That was a good one. The second movie was fucking terrible.
But Randy Quaid's
never even saw the second one.
Another gem in that.
Yeah. No, the second one was really bad. It had parts that were like you wish they would have done more of, and it might have been good, but it was not good. And I mean, they did Will Smith dirty in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if I've seen it or not.
So, Adam, do you have any others to add?
I don't have any others. I've hit all of like the major ones I wanted to talk about.
All right. So I'm going to jump in real quick. It's not a black-led movie, but it has one of my favorite characters from a movie, and it is the James Bond film Live and Let Die. And the character in that is Baron Samedi.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It was a great character.
Yes, fantastic character. Very few lines, but he's so good. He's basically the god of death in the voodoo culture. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, go ahead and tell us. Give us a comment. Tell me how dumb I am. I'm happy to hear it. But what I will say is the Nintendo 64 game GoldenEye, that was my character that I picked every single time. Screw your odd job. I will destroy you every single time with Baron Samedi.
I think great way to end the topic.
Here we are again at the end of an episode. Thank you for listening all the way through. Once again, we are Spit Take Podcast. If you would like to follow us, be sure to check out the episode description and find the link to all of our social media accounts. We are Spit Take Podcast. Thank you for listening. And Rick, what do you have to say for us?
Level up, guys!